Here is the bottom of the top 25. Just came into us. SMU is 25, so we were wrong, Harrison. The committee did go with the small school programs. SMU kind of surprisingly far down there at 25, actually. Navy 24, Oklahoma State 23, Boise State 22, Memphis is number 21. Cincinnati checks in at number 20. Wake Forest checks in at 19. Iowa's 18. Minnesota all the way down at 17.
That's the first shocker of the night.
That's a surprise to me. And Kansas State at number 16.
Yeah, and you look at these 5 teams here, Tom. Wake Forest with 1 loss. That's something to keep in mind. They're way down there at number 19. Minnesota's unbeaten at number 17. That is a lot of ground to make up. They do have 3 ranked. They have three ranked opponents in the coming weeks. Got Penn State. They got Iowa. They've got Wisconsin. They'll have their opportunities, but man, that is total lack of respect by the committee, putting Minnesota down at 17.
Now, Wake at 19. Get to the top 15 here in just a second. Notre Dame, they are number 15. Michigan's number 14. Wisconsin is 13. Baylor is 12. And Auburn outside the top 10.
Interesting. They're not valuing that strength of schedule as much as we did.
Interesting.
Wisconsin, Michigan, we talked about that ahead of time, the head-to-head coming into play there. Notre Dame at 15, that feels a little rich for me. That is a team trending very far down. To me, putting Minnesota behind Notre Dame doesn't make sense as you see Florida coming in at number 10.
We'll see where Georgia ends up being ranked, but there's your number 10 team. It is the Florida Gators, so our projected rankings not quite coming true. No surprise there. Who knows what the committee's going to do?
Keep in mind, Florida over Auburn head-to-head there as well. OU coming in at number 9. I think that's where we had them as well, or at number 10. Utah coming in at number 8. That's interesting, Tom. We debated Oklahoma and Utah. The committee values Utah higher right now. They've got them at number 8, so the Big 12 could need more help than we think.
I mean, not liking those 2-loss programs in the way I thought they were going to. Oregon, they're next up here. They check in at number 7, which I'll make this note right now.
We know what that means.
It means we got 3 SEC teams in the top 6. Shocking, right?
Yeah, we're just absolutely floored by that decision from the college football committee. So Oregon coming in at number 7. The committee, you know how these guys, they release it the same way every year. We're going to get their rankings. They sit on the top 6 for a little bit, so we'll get those to you guys as soon as we can. 10 through 7, Florida, Oklahoma, Utah, and Oregon. We're going to cycle back through here and get a little recap of what we've seen so far.
If you're just now tuning in, again, we got a lot of people just now watching. SMU, they are number 25. Navy's number 24. Oklahoma State is 23. Boise State is 22, and Memphis is 21.
Keep in mind, no Texas, no Texas A&M. So LSU and Alabama and Clemson don't get those ranked wins there, so that's something to keep in mind as well.
Cincinnati, they check in at number 20. They are the highest-ranked group of 5 team, but a little bit further down than maybe we thought they were going to be. Wake is number 19. Iowa's number 18. Minnesota 17. Kansas State is number 16 as well. Florida's 10. Oklahoma's 9. Utah's 8, and Oregon is number 7. That's your 16 through 10 range there for the CFP. So we'll get those top 6 here in just a second for you guys in just a second here. Very curious so far how the craziness has happened at this point for the CFP rankings as we await the top 6 here. Quite interesting to see how things go down. What's jumped out to you so far, Harrison?
Minnesota at 17 is the biggest surprise to me. Unbeaten Power 5 team. I know the schedule's not there, but to have them below a 2-loss K-State, that's pretty shocking there, Tom.
All right, so Kansas State 16. Minnesota, you're right, Harrison, that surprises me, all the way down at number 17. Iowa is at number 18 here. We await the top 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're waiting to see what those teams are here. As soon as we get it, we'll bring it in here for you guys in just a second here. What's the biggest surprise to you so far, Harrison?
Minnesota's number 1. OU being behind Utah is a little bit of a surprise as well. Those are the 2 things that stick out to me. They're favoring the Pac-12 over the Big 12 so far.
Yeah, that's been interesting. There will be 3 SEC teams here in the top 6 of the CFP rankings. In the comments, guys, let us know who you think is going to be number 1 of the CFP. Number 6 here is Georgia. Clemson checks in at number 5, so maybe no surprises there for 6 through 5. Number 4 is Penn State. They check in at number 4. That's 6 5 and 4. I think a little bit low for the Nittany Lions, by the way.
Yeah,
It means Bama's going to be top 3.
I mean, I just don't understand that, Tom. They've got the 2 top 25 wins. The schedule's tougher. I get it. Bama would probably beat Penn State, but we don't know that because they don't play each other right now. I don't get that. Bama checks in at number 3. No surprise there. That does mean it won't be number 1 versus number 2. They did get this part right. The top 2 teams.
Number 2 is LSU. They check in that second spot. That means number 1, the Ohio State Buckeyes. So here are your initial college football playoff rankings for the top 6. Ohio State, they are number 1. LSU, they are number 2. Bama is number 3. Penn State is number 4. Clemson is number 5. And Georgia is number 6. Harrison, what jumps out to you, at least among these top 6?
Well, they got the top 2 right, and that's, overall, I give this a solid effort by the committee. I would have put Penn State at number 3. I think up to this point they have earned that. That to me, that is just saying we believe Bama's better, so let's put them ahead of Penn State. But overall, the 4 are right, and in the end, that's really the most important. Right now, this is the 4 we had, just in a slightly different order. They got the top 2 right, which was pretty clear. If you messed that up, that would have been a big miss by the committee. Clemson getting in there at number 5. Georgia, the top 1-loss team. We had Oregon in our projections. Overall, no huge complaints when you're looking at the top of the rankings. I would have had Penn State 3rd, though, Tom.
I will make note here, because the CFP does not re-rank after the championship game because, well, there's no need to, Ohio State is actually the first number 1 non-SEC or ACC team.
Interesting.
Which is crazy.
I did not know that.
But it's always LSU or Bama, or that one year was Mississippi State for a little bit.
There was 3 SEC teams in the initial 2014 rankings, I believe.
So again, if you're just now tuning in, Ohio State, they're number 1. LSU is number 2. Bama's number 3. Penn State is number 4. Clemson is number 5. And Georgia checks in at number 6. I see some debate going on there in the comments section. Funny enough how this would be Big Ten versus SEC. Of course, it will work itself out. We know that. But where things stand right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would wonder, at the end how they would stagger this if that was the case. Obviously, it plays itself out, so it doesn't matter. But those were our top 4, different order on our end, but I think overall a pretty decent job there.
All right, so we'll go back to the top 25 here again in just a second. But for those of you who've been watching, who's the biggest CFP snub this year? Let us know, at least for the initial top 25. Who's the biggest snub?
Well, if you're talking full top 25,
yes,
that's a different
25.
conversation. I actually don't really have a complaint about a team that didn't make it.
Just like even with where they're ranked.
Oh, well, Minnesota.
Okay.
Minnesota. Do I think Minnesota's a top 5 team in the country? No. I'm not sure they're a top 10 team. But you know what? They're unbeaten as a Power 5 opponent, and they've gotten better. Early in the year, they were sneaking by bad opponents. The schedule's gotten tougher, and they've played better in recent weeks. I think that's a joke to have them at number 17. That's my biggest complaint. A couple of other minor things like 3 versus 4, Penn State and Alabama. And something to keep in mind is the Pac-12 apparently getting the nod over the Big 12. Those are some thoughts on my end.
Hello, friends. I am Tom Downey. That is Harrison Graham here for College Football Now. We're going to take you through the very first college football playoff rankings from the CFP committee. 25 to 1, and we'll discuss it all here for you as well. SMU's 25, Navy's 24, Oklahoma State's 23, Boise State's 22. I'm kind of surprised by that. Memphis 21. What jumps out to you in those first 5, Harrison?
I thought SMU would be a little higher. I thought they'd be more 20 to 22. I don't really get why Boise's ahead of SMU. SMU's playing in a tougher conference. SMU beat TCU out of conference. I guess you could say Boise beat Florida State, but I don't, nothing huge to complain about. Oklahoma State getting in there over Texas, I know, is something that you've thought about as well since they lost that head-to-head matchup. I think the metrics slightly favor Oklahoma State. That's why you see their admission.
All right, 20 through 16. Cincinnati, they are the top-ranked group of 5 team. Wake Forest is 19. Iowa's 18. Minnesota, undefeated Power 5 Minnesota, is just number 17.
If they got Minnesota right, this committee would have done A-minus job for me. But putting them that low, I like Kansas State. They're having a nice season. They've lost 2 games. And it's not like their schedule has been off the charts. Yeah, the OU win is really good. I understand that. Minnesota behind them, Minnesota behind some of these other 2-loss teams as we push to the top 15. I don't really understand that to have them that low at number 17 as an unbeaten Power 5 team.
Notre Dame is number 15. Michigan is 14. They beat head-to-head Notre Dame and lost head-to-head to Wisconsin.
Like, why is Minnesota behind those teams? Because, I mean,
they played nobody? I don't know.
The silence speaks volumes. I get that. One-loss team, sure, but to have them that low is unreal. Wisconsin 13, Baylor 12, Auburn the highest, or the second highest two-loss team coming in at number 11. I think the 12 where Baylor is, that feels about right. That's where Minnesota should be. They should be 12 or 13.
All right, the top 10, then the Florida Gators, the Oklahoma Sooners, Utah, and then Oregon, a pair of Pac-12 teams getting the nod over the Big 12. I'll put leader just for the rankings, not, record-wise, Bears undefeated, in the CFP.
That is good news if you are a Pac-12 fan, because it's been a rough go in recent years. They're in good shape. You look at that, they're in good shape. The winner of that game, if they keep winning and meet the Pac-12 title game, is going to have a good shot at making the college football playoff, Tom. We had Oregon at 6 in our projected rankings, but the teams in front of them, it's all going to play itself out anyway, so they're in a very good spot to make it if they just keep on winning.
Again, that's Florida at 10, Oklahoma at 9, Utah at number 8, Oregon at number 7. I may be a bit surprised to see those two-loss Florida-Auburn teams not a little bit higher because they've played, I think, better opponents so far.
I'll put it this way. Florida being at 10, we said there was no chance. Now there's really no chance.
All right, the top 6 then. Georgia at number 6, giving 3 SEC teams in the top 6 because what's new for the CFP? Undefeated Clemson is number 5 because of a iffy strength of schedule.
Yep.
Penn State with some ranked wins. They're number 4, but they are still behind the Alabama Crimson Tide. They are number 3. LSU is number 2, and Ohio State is number 1.
At least they got the top 2 right. Like, if you couldn't
that was a no-brainer.
Yeah, if you couldn't, that's why they really don't deserve that much credit for that. I think they screwed up Alabama and Penn State. In the end, they're both in the top 4. It's not a huge deal for me, but to me, you're not valuing what's happened up to this point if you put Alabama ahead of Penn State.
All right, a timeless question at this point here. Should the college football playoff expand past 4 teams? Type Y for yes and for no. I say yes. I am all aboard expansion.
More big games. The controversy does make it fun. There's always going to be controversy, though.
Seriously, always.
Teams 9 through 12 are going to start complaining.
It's not fair. Or you go to 16 teams to get weird with it. That's what I want.
Every
conference
you want to get weird?
Gets in.
Go the Mike Leach model, 64-team playoff. They do it in high school football. Who says no? I don't think that should happen, but they got to expand past
the
4.
Players.
I think you got to go to 8. I think you got to go to 8, make it happen. In the first round, home field advantage. Who doesn't want that?
All right, guys, use hashtag CFP to get your questions on the show. That's hashtag CFP. Anything college football you want, anything college football, but we'll use the hashtag CFP. That's coming up here in a little bit. Now, the current CFP map here, nothing really changes from our perspective, Harrison. Although, maybe Minnesota's still winning in. Even though they're 17, they're still winning in.
They're still winning in. I think the committee saying there is we just don't believe in this team. So we're going to put them at 17.
Yeah, I guess.
And look,
does that hurt Penn State a little bit?
I'm not even – not really. If they win out, they're in. Now, maybe one loss, Penn State has no chance now. That's a different conversation. But, again, I'm not even saying, I just think Minnesota is some world beater. But 17, my goodness. I mean,
Power 5 school.
Yeah, we'll see this Saturday when they take on Penn State. They'll have their opportunity to prove that wrong. Get that fixed for you guys on the screen as they are number 17. But it's off to, that's the one weird thing about the committee's rankings from week 1.
And here are the current CFP map. It remains winning in for most of these programs. I will make note, Oregon and Utah, they did catch a bit of a break with where they are at ahead of Oklahoma. I think that's a big deal for them going forward. Overall, Utah, they check in at number 8, but they do still need some help, Harrison.
Yeah, they come in at number 8. They do need help, but this is about as good as you could have hoped if you're Utah. We had them, down at number 11 in our projected. Pac-12 as a whole is in a good spot. I think Oregon and Utah have to be very pleased based on this result, and the conference as a whole. They need exposure. It's been a bad couple of years out west in the Pac-12. A lot of their teams people don't watch because they're playing late at night. I do because I love Pac-12 after dark, and that's why I should be on the committee. But that's neither here nor there. Utah's in a good spot. They're in a little bit better shape than I thought they were coming into tonight.
All right, Oregon, Oklahoma, Wake Forest, they're also not in great shape there, Harrison. Auburn, not looking great either.
Yeah, I mean, Wake is just, you got to win out. You got to beat Clemson. You need a lot of dominoes to fall in your favor. They come in at number 19 in the initial rankings. I think that's about where we had them, somewhere between 18 and 20. You know, they got Virginia Tech this week, a team that's playing better. They almost beat Notre Dame over the weekend. At Clemson, look, you somehow beat Clemson, conversation shifts a little bit for Wake Forest. Don't think it'll happen, but they'll have that opportunity in a few weeks.
Now we'll get back to those top 25 here, because in case you're just now tuning in or missed it earlier or just want to see them again, because I certainly want to see them again. The bottom here, SMU, Navy, Oklahoma State, Boise, Memphis, those don't really matter all that much. Cincinnati, though, leads the way among the group of 5 teams. What do you put their chances at? It's not quite 0.
What, at the playoff?
Yeah.
Oh, it's 0.
It's
Tom.
0.000001.
Tom, a dominant,
Harrison.
Unbeaten UCF team never cracked the top 7. Why?
I'm saying there's a chance.
There's
not a chance.
There's no chance Cincinnati gets in.
Who's more likely, Wake or UC?
Oh, Wake.
Okay.
Because they would have
That's
beaten
fair.
Clemson.
That's
I mean,
fair.
there's no chance Cincinnati gets in.
And Minnesota getting some disrespect there overall. That was a big surprise how low they were.
Yeah, that's my biggest complaint from tonight.
That was a surprise to see them at that low of a mark there. No surprise to see Wisconsin, Michigan, Notre Dame in that order. That's the head-to-head matchup. That's how that worked out. That makes sense to me.
I would not have Notre Dame that high. It makes sense in
Okay.
the head-to-head totem pole. Minnesota,
not the number, just the order.
yeah,
Wisconsin,
they
Michigan,
got that
Notre Dame.
right. Notre Dame's too high though. Baylor at number 12. I think that's the ballpark for them. Schedule gets tougher down, the rest of the way. Then Auburn, 2 losses. They've got a couple of games down the stretch. Maybe they can work their way back in the mix.
In the past, we've seen the committee give some respect to 2-loss teams, like in Auburn, even in that instance, or Florida.
Not as much this time.
Not as much this time around. Auburn's 11, Florida's number 10. I am a little bit surprised they're not higher, but I also don't mind it.
No, I don't
I'm
either.
fine with it.
Yeah, because, you look at the teams in front of them, maybe they'd be favored against Utah. I think Oregon and Oklahoma are more deserving teams and have played better throughout most of the season. I know OU played pretty poor against Kansas State. Before that game, we were talking about one of the most dominant teams in college football. So they are certainly one of the better teams in the country. They got Baylor on the road in a couple weeks. They got Bedlam at the end of the year against Oklahoma State.
Always a trap game.
OU and Baylor need to keep winning for the Big 12's chances because they're sitting behind the Pac-12 right now.
Especially with Texas being not back.
They need Texas to find a way to string together some wins and get into the top 25.
All right, guys, if you like college football like Harrison and I do, we got you covered. We will have these CFP rankings every single week for you on Facebook Live, on YouTube Live. The link for YouTube is below. If you need it, it's youtube.com/chatsportstv. We're part of the about 1,000 right now watching on YouTube. Just hit that big red button and subscribe. We'll keep you covered, not just college football, too. NFL, particular teams, NBA, we got you covered here on Chat Sports for all of the major sports out there. Here it is one more time, the top 6 of the CFP rankings. OSU, LSU, Harrison, they got it right, at least for now.
Yeah, they got the 4 right. The order debate up for debate. I would have flipped Penn State and Bama. Overall, no huge complaints there. We thought Ohio State was 1 and LSU was 2. That's where the committee came in as well. Obviously, Clemson, you win out, you're going to make the playoff. Georgia, I think in the same boat. You went out and make it in. Now, the game we're all waiting for, Tom, is LSU and Alabama, which we get to see this week.
I cannot wait for this matchup. LSU, Alabama. It's not 1 versus 2 like it is in the AP poll. It's 2 versus 3. The Crimson Tide are a 6-point favorite at home in this one, Harrison.
Yeah, and I think Tua's going to give it a go. The question is, how healthy is he? Is he 70%? Is he 90%? We'll see. We'll see by the end of that first quarter how that ankle is holding up. He had surgery like 10 days ago, so that is a quick recovery for Tua there. Over under 65. Keep in mind when these two teams were 1 and 2 back in 2011. I know they're 2 and 3 according to the playoff rankings, but when they played as 1 and 2 8 years ago, 9-6 was the final score. Don't think that's going to happen this year. Points will be scored. Joe Burrow, Tua, they're going to be slinging it. It's going to be fun to watch.
All right, so let us know who you guys have in this one. Is it number 2 LSU? Is it number 3 Alabama? Put your votes for us in the comments section. We'll give some shout-outs here as well. Harrison, which way are you going?
I think I'm going with Bama. I'm going to trust that Tua is healthy enough to play. They're at home. I do think this will be an excellent game, though. This is not the LSU of old where they roll into this game 7-1 or 8-0 and they're non-competitive. I think this will be a very competitive game. I actually think that line is a little high at 6 points. I would take the points in LSU if I was betting on it, which you should do at BetDSI. But I would lean Bama to find a way. Been there, done that. Nick Saban, it's just so hard to bet against these guys, especially at home.
All right, Bama, they are number 3 right now, but much like LSU, they simply control their own destiny, Harrison. Do you think there's a scenario that both of them get in? In the playoff, of course.
Yes, absolutely. You play a tight game on Saturday and you win the rest of the way. We've seen Alabama get in that scenario. It wasn't against it was Alabama and Auburn that year was the head-to-head controversy when Auburn got into the SEC title game and then lost to Georgia, opening the door for Alabama. So there is certainly a scenario where LSU and Alabama get in, especially if that game is close. And quite frankly, they may not need that much help at all, especially if LSU loses because their schedule's been tough.
Now, you guys may not have heard this, but President Trump is expected to be at the Alabama-LSU game. So here's the question, because you saw what happened maybe at the World Series and elsewhere. What will be the reaction to President Trump's appearance? Boo or cheer? Give me a B for boo, C for a cheer. I think there is one correct answer as to what will actually happen.
You want to reveal that?
I mean, if you can guess it, and then if you're wrong, I'll call you out.
Probably cheer, right?
There's no probably there. This is the Deep South, baby.
Yeah.
It's going to be cheers for Trump there. It's a no-brainer there on that one. So type B for boo, C for cheer. Crimson Tide gets it. He says it's Alabama, lol. It's exactly correct there. So keep those votes flowing. B or C, boo or cheer for President Trump, assuming he's on the big screen, of course.
Yeah.
For Alabama and LSU. Someone also put an OH, which I think he's waiting for someone to say IO. So I got you covered.
There you go.
There. Jake Murphy super chat says cheer, by the way. The big thing in this game, though, for not just even the game itself, but for the NFL draft purposes, is Joe Burrow versus Tua. Perhaps the 2 best quarterbacks right now in college football.
God, there's so many to choose from, and the fact that the 2 best might be playing each other this weekend is so exciting to watch. Joe Burrow for LSU. Who saw this coming, right? At the end of last year, Tom, you could see that he was starting to figure things out. But this year, taking it to a whole new level, he went from a fringe draft prospect to top 50 pick, maybe a first-round pick.
I think first round at least right now.
Yeah, Tua, we know he's going to be a top 10 pick, barring something weird happening at the Combine or some tragic injury. But look at the numbers. These are 2 of the best in college football. 57 combined passing touchdowns. This is what you want to watch. This is why college football is the best sport out there.
Tua is once again dealing with an ankle injury. So let me just throw you guys my conspiracy theory here for Alabama. If Nick Saban wants to play some 4D chess, he doesn't even play Tua. Oh, and he's hurt. And then Alabama, they blow out Auburn, as they probably are going to do no matter what there once Tua gets healthy again. There is no SEC championship game for Alabama, so they stay healthy and more refreshed and have all kinds of time there. And they still get into the college football playoff because it's a one-loss Alabama.
And more than that, the committee goes, Tua didn't play in their biggest game. How do we leave them out? Top 4 team, got to put them in.
Is the committee going to leave out a one-loss Alabama team? No,
they
of
haven't
course
yet.
not. That's just thinking
they haven't yet.
As an idea. Now, if you feel good about one of these teams for this matchup, I think the game of the year until they get to the actual playoff, let us know. Go to chatsports.com/bet. Put your money where your mouth is. Use that promo code CFB120. That's CFB120. It gets you a 120% deposit bonus. It's chatsports.com/bet. Promo code CFB120. Put down $50. They're going to give you $60 for free. You're not going to find a better betting deal out there. It's chatsports.com/bet. Use that promo code CFB120. And we'll ask this one more time again as well. President Trump is expected to be at the Alabama-LSU game after what happened at the World Series. What will happen in this one? Will the Alabama/LSU crowd boo him or cheer for him? I think it's a no-brainer. I think Trump gets a rounding applause. There will be some mixed boos.
Slightly different audience, different region of the country, if you will. D.C., you know how that goes. And now he's in the Deep South, SEC, 2:30 matchup. I think it's going to be a lot of cheering.
I think there will be mostly cheers. Now, of course, this is America. We can never agree on anything, even the sky being blue. But I think cheer is going to win on this one. But let us know what you guys think in the comments section. We'll break down the top 25 again here in a little bit. But first, the committee's self-explained criteria from their own site in terms of what differentiates comparable teams, those teams that might have a similar record or a better eye test, which I think is how they get through it there. Conference championships, that's the number one. Unless you're Penn State, then you get screwed both ways.
Yes.
Strength of schedule, that's up next there, and that's been a factor, I think, in the top 25 for some teams. It's never quite A plus B equals C. It's just not how it works. Head-to-head results, that's another big factor in there.
Also, unless you're Penn State.
Also, yes. So unless you're Penn State, this applies to you. Common opponent outcomes. I saw someone in the comments mention this. Baylor and Oklahoma versus Kansas State. Didn't apply for Oklahoma.
That's interesting.
I guess for Baylor, benefiting.
Yeah, which is
Oklahoma.
weird because they're the unbeaten team and OU is not.
And then relevant, hard word there, factors such as injuries and if that affected them at the time or even down the stretch.
That one's just, you pick and choose when that factors in.
Exactly. That's all of these in the end, I think, for the CFP committee as they try to get what they consider
That's
to be
why it's in air quotes, guys.
the best four in. We'll take you through here the CFP rankings. SMU's 25, Navy's 24, Oklahoma State's 23, Boise State is 22, and Memphis is number 21.
Shout out to the midshipmen for having a bounce back year. There was a shift in power in Army's favor last year, and Navy's taking it right back. They are in the top 25. Good for Navy.
There's a military joke there somewhere, but I'm not smart enough to make it. Cincinnati, they're number 20. Wake is number 19. Iowa's 18. Minnesota 17. K-State 16, which gives Oklahoma that quality loss. But Minnesota, undefeated Power 5 program, just extended P.J. Fleck at 17.
I've given my opinion on this a lot. I haven't heard yours a lot. I think you're in my boat pun intended, row the boat up there in Minnesota. Shout out P.J. Fleck. Number 17, look, they're unbeaten. I know the schedule's not great, but I'd love to look at the history. Has an unbeaten Power 5 team ever been ranked this low on the committee's ranking?
I don't think Power 5. No, UCF definitely has, but I don't think Power 5.
Not a Power 5. I mean, think about this. They're only 3 spots ahead of one-loss Group of 5 Cincinnati.
Yeah, that's the weird part.
That is...
I guess here's my mindset is they're definitely too low. But in the end, how much difference does 13 and 17 make?
That's fair enough, and I guess the mindset is win out and it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
But if their own brand is it's about what the here and now. The here and now is they're undefeated. I just don't understand it.
All right, guys, if you want a custom sports coat, pay attention. Here's how you can get entered for a chance to win one. Go follow Kashiyama Tailors on Instagram. That is on Instagram at Kashiyama Tailors. We'll get that link in the chat for you guys as well. Once Kashiyama Tailors hits 3,000 followers, we're going to give away $25 on Venom, Minnesota. I got some shout-outs to do here as well for those of you who have followed Kashiyama Tailors. But if you do it, you are entered to win. We'll randomly pick it and then get you guys hooked up with $25 on Venmo. And you're still entered to win a free custom suit. So it's 2 for 1, really.
Yeah, and type F in the chat once you've followed Kashiyama on Instagram. We'll give you guys a shout-out. About 90 away. Got to get to that 3,000 follower mark so you guys can have a chance to win $25 through Venmo. Keep following Kashiyama on Instagram.
Shout-outs here, 215_Tommy, Braden McDevitt 2.
Outdoor Savage with the F. Appreciate that there.
Q-Tip, we got James Spam, who goes by Bobby J. Spams, on his actual handle there. Terrence Yoder. David also, let me refresh here manually. We got some more coming in here. We got House in Torsoco. I botched that, I'm sorry. Thomas Briggs, Not Noah, Brian, and Reggie. So go follow them. Once you get to 30K, we will give it away. Got some more Fs in there?
Yeah, I got a few more in here. Got Carter Sports, Troy Daniels with the F, not the basketball player. Appreciate that. He's always checking in on us. We're about 90 away to get to that 3,000 follower mark. The link is right there. It's in the chat. You want $25, right? Who doesn't like free money? Go follow them right now.
All right, the top 15, Notre Dame, who lost to Michigan, who's 14, who lost to Wisconsin, who's 13. Undefeated Baylor is number 12, and Auburn checks in at 11.
Yeah, you look at this list and you feel like maybe Baylor's really the only team that has a chance. Auburn's got the slightest of chances with 2 losses, but I thought they would be higher, and they are not. So they did not value their strength of schedule and their level of play, I guess, as much as we thought they would. Baylor, a little low, I guess, but that's about where we had them. You keep winning, you're going to keep on moving up. You're an undefeated Power 5 team.
All right, the top 10, the Florida Gators, who have a almost impossible path to win the SEC
They're stuck in the
East.
mud.
Yeah,
I don't see how you really move up, honestly.
They're just going to kind of be stuck there, I think. Maybe a couple spots, but not in the
8
top
or 7
6.
is their ceiling.
Oklahoma's number 9. Utah, they are number 8. And Oregon, both Pac-12 teams ahead of the Sooners.
Let me ask you this.
Okay.
Who do you think's better out of Oregon and Utah?
Oregon.
I would agree because
I don't like their play calling, but
Yeah.
I trust Justin Herbert to make some plays if I need him to down the
this is
stretch.
the best defense
Yeah,
Oregon has
both
had.
those teams, I
Chip
think,
Kelly
really
would have
defensive.
loved to have a defense like this when he had Darren Thomas and Mariota and those guys slinging it. Utah's an elite defense and probably even better than Oregon's. I just don't know if they can score enough to match Justin Herbert. I hope those teams are one-loss teams when they
That'd be the
play
best.
the Pac-12 title game. That would have been the best Pac-12 title
Problem
game
is,
since they've installed a title game.
Pac-12 After Dark will never let that happen. All right, the top 6 here, maybe not much of a surprise at the very top. Ohio State's number 1. LSU is number 2.
Yeah, and obviously, Ohio State's got Penn State on the schedule coming up, who's the number 4 team there. LSU plays Alabama this weekend.
There will be changes.
That's going to be fun to watch, obviously. Clemson, they're kind of in that good spot. Don't pay attention to us. We're just going to keep on winning and get into that college football playoff like they always do. And then Georgia, look, big bounce-back win against Florida a few weeks ago. It looked bleak after that loss to South Carolina. They're in a good spot.
And if you're Clemson, maybe you're disappointed because you're the defending champions, but the strength schedule has been pretty brutal. And in the end, those top 4 teams, they play each other. It will all work itself out. Just take care of your own business. Clemson and Georgia, even Baylor and Minnesota, and you'll be okay there in the end.
Yeah, absolutely, Tom.
All right, speaking of taking care of it in the end, LSU, Bama, that is this weekend. Let us know who you guys have. Type L for LSU and B for Bama. Thinking about it a lot, Harrison. I think Tua's going to play, so give me Bama. But it's going to be a 3-point game.
I'm with you. I like the points for LSU. I think 6 is too much. That's a little disrespectful in my opinion, especially with the status of Tua unclear. It's a little weird to me. I do think Bama wins, though. If this game was in Baton Rouge, I think I would pick LSU, though. But it's in Tuscaloosa. Got to roll Tide there. I think they're going to find a way to get it done. They've played in these big games more than LSU has.
I see it. I think pretty close to 50-50 split. I mean, I know
that's kind of how we feel, right?
General Pipos doesn't like Alabama, so I get why they don't want to cheer for them at all. All right, Penn State at Minnesota, the other top 20 matchup this weekend. Let us know who you got. P for Penn State, M for Minnesota. Does the home dog intrigue you at all?
Did you think you would have to say a top 20 matchup when it came to 2 unbeaten Big Ten teams?
I thought I might say top 15 because it's November and they're both undefeated.
Yeah, unbelievable.
If not top 10.
Unbelievable. I would not be as shocked as most people would be if Minnesota won this game.
I'd be kind of surprised.
I'd be a little surprised, but has Penn State been overwhelmingly impressive? They're good, but they don't have a lot of downfield passing game. They don't have a lot of chunk plays in general. They play really good defense. They run the ball. Clifford's a good decision maker. They're efficient, but they're not hitting 50-yard play. They're methodical. I think Minnesota's kind of the same way, right? Just with lesser talent. So they're at home. That crowd's going to be rocking. Wouldn't shock me. I actually like the points for Minnesota. I feel like James Franklin's got a little more talent than PJ Fleck does, though. Give me the Nittany Lions.
Yeah, I got Penn State. I'll take the plus 6.5 there too, or the minus 6.5 there as well. Now, if you guys are like us, you're going to be watching these games closely. And if you're like most people, the commercials that you see over and over again are very frustrating and annoying, and they're normally not very good.
Just wear you out, man.
Exactly. So if you don't want the same crappy commercials you've seen about 100 times at this point, download the MyTV Choice app. Go to chatsports.com/MyTV. Takes you right to the download link for the app. Hook it up with your smart TV on Wi-Fi. The app will know when a commercial comes on. And instead of having to deal with commercials, you get awesome video sent straight to your TV, and it gets you back to the game before it begins, by the way, so don't worry about that. Some of those videos, by the way, come from us here at Chat Sports, so go download today, chatsports.com/mytv. Time now for our live Q&A here on Facebook and on YouTube. If you're a longtime subscriber, you know the deal. Use the hashtag, in this case it's CFP, and we'll get your questions on the show. And if you use a super chat, we'll also typically get you up here as well, so just keep that in mind here. Get going here. First up from Tommy H. If PSU loses a close game to Ohio State, do they still get in?
That's interesting because we've talked about that with LSU and Alabama a lot, especially the national media who ignores every other conference in college football. We don't do that here at Chat Sports. This is an interesting one. let's say Penn State blows out Minnesota. They've already got the wins over Iowa and Michigan. Those two teams keep winning, so those are ranked wins. And then you play OSU tight. It's going to be tough still because you're not in that Big Ten title game. We haven't. That would be tough to see. But I think there is a scenario where they could still get in.
It needs, I think, in particular help from the Pac-12 and the Big 12. I think if there is a one-loss Penn State team that only lost to Ohio State close, and 2-loss Oregon, Oklahoma win those, I think there's
one more scenario too. One-loss LSU or Bama is getting in over one-loss Penn State. So the loser of that game would need to lose the second time.
That's fair. That's absolutely fair there. So Penn State, they're number 4 right now. They will need some help, though, with a loss if they're going to get in, but there is a path for it. All right, Jake the Loser, is there SEC favoritism when the Big Ten has more top 25 teams?
I mean, always, right? Like, and Grant, look, SEC plays really good football. I'm not dogging the conference. I think it's probably the best league this year. But I think we act like sometimes that they are just playing another sport. Like, look, it's probably the best team in the country. I think the Big Ten's very good. Big 12 and Pac-12 are a little further back this year. We know the ACC is bad, but I think the Big Ten's close to the SEC this year. Not as much at the top outside of Ohio State, but I think, you put the 4th best Big Ten team up against the 4th best SEC team, you're probably going to have a good ball game.
Let us know in the comments which conference you guys think is best. I'm sure that won't be divisive at all. But have fun in the comments. Be nice with each other. I will make note, the SEC does have like 5 of the top 11. So maybe the top is better in the SEC. The overall depth is better in the
that's a
Big
good way to put it. The depth of the Big Ten is better. I think the top 5 or 6 is probably stronger in the SEC.
Alan Varner wants to know why the committee changed up the rankings this year. Well, they do it every year. I'm not sure if you're comparing to last year's or the AP polls, but they do that every season.
Or maybe he means when they release them, possibly. I'm not sure.
Don't know.
They've historically built it around this, that basketball doubleheader. They've done that in recent years. This is the top 6 in case you missed it. Ohio State, LSU, Bama, and Penn State are in the bracket as of now. Clemson and Georgia on the outside looking in. I don't know really how else to answer that question. I don't think they changed much. This is the same process they've done the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's their own different criteria, very different than the AP poll. And in most cases, I actually kind of prefer it to what the AP poll does, where there's a lot of recency bias, and
the AP poll is also
stuck.
a lot of voters who cover one team in one conference, and they don't watch the entire country.
All right, some more comments coming in. This one from Chad Johnston, related to Ocho Cinco. Why is it every year the weak SEC gets a loss pass when everyone else doesn't? They are not that great, where ESPN puts them on a pedestal.
I don't know what to tell you. I feel like we answer this. We talk about this every year. This year, 3 of the top 6 are in the SEC. Auburn and Florida are 10 and 11. Although we thought they would be higher, so maybe they're backing off that a little bit. Look, in the end, guys, this stuff plays itself out. Only one time has 2 SEC teams made the playoff. And quite frankly, I didn't really have a problem with it. I think it came down to Bama and a 2-loss Ohio State. I mean, what do you want them to do there? Pick the 2-loss team? I guess you could go with the conference champion there, but overall, I think it's actually been okay.
Today's show is brought to you by BetDSI. Head over to chatsports.com/bet. Use that promo code CFB120. That gets you a 120% deposit bonus. So you put down $50, there's an extra $60 in your bank account there on BetDSI for free. Number 1 sportsbook, it's chatsports.com/bet. Use that promo code CFB120. All right, undisputed record. How can Chase Young win the Heisman Trophy?
Like this one, I am on the train of Chase Young winning the Heisman. I think he's the best pure player in college football.
Agreed.
If you watch that Wisconsin game, who jumped off the tape? Chase Young.
Chase Young
He's by far the best player in that game, and that includes players like Jonathan Taylor and Justin Fields and J.K. Dobbins and plenty of other NFL talent on the field in that game. The way he does it, got to have 20-plus sacks at least, right? And they need to go undefeated.
If he can break Terrell Suggs' sack mark.
What was that? What was
22, I believe is what
where's
that
he,
is.
And where's he at right now?
He's in Arizona.
No, where's Chase Young at in terms
14 or 14 and a half.
I can't
remember if it's the
half.
half.
He can get there.
He's
they
on
play
pace.
Maryland this weekend.
He's on pace with the bowl game.
Yes.
And I think the other big thing for Ohio State is they have to have a committed push to say, vote for Chase Young, not Justin Fields or J.K. Dobbins. valid candidates in their own rights as well.
Absolutely, but I do think Chase Young has kind of emerged as the candidate from that school. Fields is still floating around, but to me, Young is the guy out of Ohio State. You just hope it doesn't cannibalize itself up there.
All right, Z-Miss, do you think Oklahoma can bump up if they beat number 12 Baylor?
Oh, of course. I mean, that's a solid top 10, top 15 win, and you hope Baylor gets into the top 10 by the time they play each other. That's the key there for Oklahoma. Look, it's tricky for the Big 12 this year because there's a lot of decent teams. There's not a lot of ranked teams. So you're not going to have a lot of those top 25 wins. So you need Baylor to keep winning if you're OU, and you need them to only lose to you, if that makes sense. Maybe you play them a second time in Arlington, beat them a second time, and show the committee, hey, we just beat a good team twice down the stretch. That's kind of their path right now. Big 12's in a tough spot, though, Tom. Based on what I saw tonight, there's not a clear path to get them to the playoff without a decent amount of help.
All right, we've got a twofold giveaway alert for you guys here. First off, if you want to be entered for a chance to win a free sports coat from Kashiyama, go follow them on Instagram. We'll give that away in a couple of weeks. We'll DM that lucky winner. It's on Instagram at Kashiyama Tailors. We'll get the link in the chat for you guys. The second part of this, because there's always more here, once we get to 3,000 followers on Kashiyama, 3,000 followers for Kashiyama, we're going to give away $25 on Venmo. Once we get there, we are at 2,911. So once we get to 3,000 followers on Kashiyama's Instagram, we will hook you guys up. So I got some shout-outs here to do as well with some of the more recent ones. We got Preston, Jose Chavez out there. I got some more here coming in. Jeffrey Cherry's in there, and Ethan as well. All right, Carter Sports. Ohio State or Clemson, who do you think would win a neutral site game?
That's interesting because there's no debate on where Clemson belongs currently in terms of, the schedule and all that and the rankings. But if they played on a neutral field, you could argue those two teams have more talent than anyone else. LSU and Bama would have an argument, but Clemson still has a ton of talent. And you see the rankings there. They're at number 5. They've got so much talent. That offense has future first-rounders all over it. Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, a couple of receivers in T. Higgins and Justin Ross. There's talent everywhere. The defense, there's been a bit of a learning curve this year, but they've played better recently. That would be like a pick'em type game to me. Maybe Ohio State's a 3-point favorite.
If you had asked me before the year, I would have said, Clemson, but Ohio State's been so good this year. I think I'd have to go with the Buckeyes.
I'd have to go with the Buckeyes, but I do think it would be less than 3 points in terms of the spread.
All right, Troy Daniels, if Oregon wins out and is invited to a New Year's Six bowl game, does Utah get the invite to the Rose Bowl if they end up playing Oregon in the title game? So we got some bowl questions
here.
The
the Oregon one here, I think if they're only in the New Year's Six,
they would get
the Rose Bowl by winning the Pac-12. But if they make the playoff, I don't think it's an automatic that Utah would go to the Rose Bowl, but typically they like to go that route and stick with the tradition there. So most likely in that scenario, Utah would play in the Rose Bowl, which would be a huge accomplishment for that football program.
Anytime you go to a Rose Bowl, you should feel like you had a successful season.
Any New Year's Six game.
If
you get there, that's a hell of a season.
Maybe at this point, if you're Clemson, Bama, OSU, you feel a bit let down, but that shouldn't be the case there at all. Remember, Oregon is number 7 right now. Utah is number 8. In theory, they will meet later on this year if everything goes according to plan.
Unless UCLA, which actually controls its destiny in the Pac-12 South, wins out.
Hey, I think Oregon State does too.
I would expect. They've surprisingly had a nice little season. Oregon and Utah, I would expect those two teams to play in the Pac-12 title game.
We'll loop through the other top 25 here of the CFP rankings. The very first ones that came out Tuesday night for you guys. Auburn's 11, Baylor's 12, Wisconsin 13. Maybe you could have a Ohio State gets in, maybe a Penn State, Utah/Oregon Rose Bowl this year.
That'd be fun. I think that's the one thing about the playoff that bothers me is everybody ignores these other games. I don't. I still like the tradition of college football and big rivalry games and these other bowl games. I would love to see Utah and Michigan in the Rose Bowl. That would be great.
Kansas State, they're number 16. Minnesota's number 17. Iowa's 18. Wake's 19. Cincinnati, speaking of those New Year's Six bowls, they are the group of 5's best shot right now.
And I think they play Memphis in a couple of weeks, who's number 21. That's another juicy one. We just saw Memphis take down SMU 54-48. I hope you push the over on that one. SMU, Navy still in the mix in terms of the group of 5 race. It's a fun, competitive G5 year because the last couple of years, UCF has just dominated as they have not lost a game in the regular season. Cincinnati's got the inside track.
Memphis, Boise State, Navy, SMU also still in the mix for that, in theory, potential New Year's Six bowl game for a group of 5 team. But Cincinnati, I think Memphis, too, in particular, really do control their own destiny at the moment.
That winner of Memphis-Cincinnati is going to be feeling pretty good. They would have to lose a second time for them to not have the inside track there.
Memphis should be undefeated. They kind of got screwed there by Temple. I think that was a bad call.
That's true.
All right, Carter Sports again here wants to know, what's your final playoff ranking predictions?
What did I say earlier? I will go with I think I had the 2 SEC route earlier, but I'm gonna change.
Oh, you're gonna be a flip-flopper.
That was before the rankings came out. The committee shocked me with the Pac-12. I'm gonna throw Oregon in there.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Oregon. And that was actually 3 of the 4 I had coming into the season, actually, as well.
Okay.
So I'm going to pat myself on the back for that one. But I think the committee likes the Pac-12 more this year, which has not been the case in recent seasons. I think if Oregon wins out, they're going to have a good shot to make it.
I'll do some shout-outs here if you guys put your 4 teams in the comments on YouTube and on Facebook here. I do see a lot of SEC comments because it just means more, Harrison.
Oh, it always means more.
Ryan thinks you're on crack if you think Clemson finishes ahead of Ohio State. You are not talking.
I wasn't talking, guys. I'm not talking the order. I'm talking about the 4 teams to make it. Clemson could go unbeaten and be the 4th team, quite frankly.
All right, definitely not a Packers fan with a Packers profile pic. How is Clemson 5 when they are the defending champs and still putting up numbers, plus a lot of stars putting up amazing numbers, only playing about 3 quarters a game? You want to take this one, Harrison?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to dissect you up here, but a couple of things here. 1, last year's irrelevant. That's the most important thing here. 2, at times they have not looked great. They should have lost to North Carolina. 3, the ACC sucks. There's 3 bullet points for you. I'm not bagging on Clemson. I think they're one of the best teams in the country, but it just is what it is, guys. They don't play a tough schedule this year, and last year is last year, this year is this year. That's the main point there.
You missed a chance to make a slice joke about cheese, but that's okay. I will allow it to slide there. Now, everyone pay attention here because we will be back again next Tuesday, November 12th, 7 p.m. Eastern this time, with the latest batch of CFP Rankings. It's youtube.com/chatsportstv. Subscribe. Make sure you've got notifications turned on. You will be notified once these CFP rankings come out. Harrison and I will have you covered. And if you got